Hello YouTube, and welcome to our brand new series where we explore the lore of Adventure Quest worlds. Now in this video, as you have read from the title, we will be talking about the lore of Darkon, or the story of Darkon, where we get to know how he became the Dark Conductor that we know today. And now to understand the story of Darkon, we have to go back to the Seraphic War between Lakin and Dage. And the story begins at Dark Fortress, where we find Dage talking about how he was betrayed by one of the Legion. And he goes on to talk more about basically his backstory, how he was once an apprentice for Nolgath, and to learn all his tricks and backdoors in order to become powerful. And to become even more powerful, he basically sold a part of his soul shard to Nolgath, which ended up backfiring on him because it made Nolgath have the upper hand on him, and how he has to retrieve that part in order to become whole again and to become like the ultimate version of himself. Our hero, or our character, gets involved in this after we receive a message from one of the Seraphic Paladins asking for help. Now here is our first introduction to Darkon, and as you can all see, he looks way different from how we know him now. He goes on to explain what the Seraphic Paladins are. They are exactly like normal Paladins. They basically fight for good, and how they have been failing in recent years to restore good and fight evil. So they basically doubt that the Seraphic Paladins has been infiltrated, and there was like traitors among them that leak information to the Legion, and they give us the job to find these traitors. So we fight through them until we find out that the traitor is basically the leader of the Seraphic Paladins himself, which in this time is Adventious. Now we end up defeating him, but he eventually escapes, only to be found later by Lakin, now an ex-Legion member who swore to fight the Legion, and we will get to know that later, why he wants to do that later. Lakin finishes him off and claims his position as the new leader of the Seraphic Paladins. We also, out of nowhere, we meet J6 as well, and he will basically be helping us to take down the Legion. So they explain that in order to defeat Dage, we have to steal the soul shard first in order to gain more power on him, and we basically will end up using it to defeat him. So we go to Legion Crypt, where we first meet Ada. She is basically one of the Seraphic Paladins. So Dage finds out about this and sends a bunch of his soldiers to stop us, including Envy. Now Envy's soul is tied to Dage, so she's basically immortal and cannot be killed. So we end up fighting through them. Darkon ends up getting kidnapped, and we end up losing the trail and basically losing this battle. So with the help of Ada, we end up finding them again. She basically makes up a fake relationship with the Legion Soul Weaver, which is one of Dage's apprentice, and she tricks him, tries to kill him, but fails because he's basically immortal as Envy and the rest. We end up finding Envy.
She has Darkon captured and interrogated. Then she goes on to talk about how she's gonna use the shard for herself to take over the Legion and basically overthrow Dage. We interrupt her though by attacking her, basically freeing Darkon and injuring her in the process. So Envy shows her true form, attacking Ada, but Darkon again steps in, saving Ada, up injuring himself badly. Then J6 steps in and basically one-shots Envy. Being the OP character he is, he basically de-immortalizes her and stuns her as well. So Darkon is injured badly and basically he's dying. So we all get out but J6 and Darkon, and J6 tells them to activate Protocol 6, which is basically self-destruction. So the whole castle blows up with Darkon and Envy inside it, so they both are dead.
Now at this point, this is the last time we see Darkon in this war. We never see him until the end. Now we go back to Seraph, where Lakin is waiting for us, and he goes on an argument with Ada that she's mad because Darkon died and she's saddened about it, and she basically talks about Lakin that when is it his turn to sacrifice himself for this cause, and she goes out storming away. So Lakin starts telling us his backstory and how he got to meet Ada. Now this is a very interesting part because his story begins as this. Now Darkon's backstory takes place 1000 years in the future, where both him and Ada are part of the Legion. He was sent to a lab, basically raid it and investigate what's happening there, so he ends up catching a mad scientist, which we find out he's been conducting human experiments, one of which he conducted on his own daughter, which is Ada herself. As we see, she's still young, and so Lakin feels sad for her, ends up adopting her and basically training her with him in the Legion. So after she basically proves herself and becomes mature, one day Lakin is summoned by the Legion Oracle, which she tells him he has to go to the past 1000 years from now to prevent destruction, but he mustn't take Ada with him, or he will end up causing a lot more destruction, and basically only bad things will happen if he took her with him. Now, of course, Lakin couldn't do that. He ends up taking her anyway because he doesn't want to abandon her. She's basically his daughter at this point. We get to know that Lakin was the second in command in the Legion, even getting the title Dej the Third. So the time has come to attack the Legion, and we basically have two devices to assist us. The first device being one made of weaponizing the soul shard, which we will use to attack Dej, and the other one is another device that Lakin had from his past that will enable us to attack Dej where we want him. Now, the place we want him in is basically described as the world soul. Now, the world soul is described as a place, as the source of mana in our world, and basically a soul trap in the underworld. And Dej wants to keep this place as secretive as possible, so he will bring as little soldiers as he can because he doesn't trust anyone and he wants to keep it secret. So we go there, and surprise, surprise, Dej is waiting for us. Now, obviously, that means that there's still a traitor among us. Now, it turns out to be Lakin, which wouldn't make much sense when he reveals it at first, but considering that he was second in command in the Legion and he was basically dubbed Dej the Third, would justify his loyalty all this time. Even the weaponized soul shard turns out to be a device that basically breaks Nilgath's curse and enables Dej to reabsorb his soul again, so that justifies why Lakin joined the Seraphic Paladins in the first place. But turns out that Dej doesn't want to take over lore anymore and realize that balance between the underworld and lore is important. Now that angers Lakin very much, that basically his soul begins to split, which we know later that he basically has two souls in one body. This fight is gonna happen anyways, Lakin versus Dej, but this time we're not on Lakin's side, we're actually in Dej's side because, you know, our character always strives toward balance. The fight begins, and even though that Lakin has the soul shard, Dej overpowers him and nearly kills him. And now Ada goes us for help to save Lakin because basically she still loves him even though he tripped her and she didn't know about his loyalty to the Legion. So in this part we actually have two endings. The first ending, Lakin asks Ada to kill him herself and to spare him. So she ended up doing that, and now we see that, you know, his two souls are indicating that he's finally at peace. The other ending is, it doesn't make much sense, but basically ask the Soul Weaver to tie her soul into Lakin's, explaining that one of his two souls is decaying and he needs two to stay stable. So he ties Ada's soul to his soul, and Lakin returns to life again, being at first angry at the Soul Weaver for doing such a thing and at us, but he turns his back and walks away anyways. Dej has his soul back, and that's it. That's basically the end of the Seraphic War. So thank you all for watching. I hope you guys liked this video because it took so much editing. And like this video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one where we continue the story of Darkon.